Apple value chain webinar organized by the FarmForce project. I am going to share my screen. Thusly. So today we're gonna get the experience from three value chain actors in the Swedish um, tangent Ukrainian value chain of apple production. Um, we have this is brought to you by the FarmForce project, which is a collaboration between our organization in Sweden, Agroforestry Sweden, Ivan Franko National University of Lviv, the National University of Life and Environmental Sciences of Ukraine, as well as the Swedish University of Agricultural Science and WWF Ukraine. I'm going to tell you today a little bit about the project first, then we go through the schedule of today. I will finish off with a few housekeeping details to make sure that everybody will get as much as possible out of the talk as possible. So the farm force is composed of people. This is the Swedish team. Me on the left, Linus, who put together this wonderful webinar. We have Karin Höök and our treasurer Joachim. On the Ukrainian side, we have Hanna in WWF Ukraine and Marina and Olesia at the Ivan Franko National University of Lviv. I can mention briefly that Hanna will also be co-host and moderator of the questions, and you can see her in the picture standing by to assist in Ukrainian. We also have Vasil and Alexander from the National University of Environmental Sciences of Ukraine. So that's all about the project. The project is focusing on small scale farms and their value chains. And as I said, this is a specific talk on the value chains of apples. And today we have Marcus Kallenbring, Charlotte Samarin, and Katarina Odovishenko. We will start off with Marcus. He is holds a degree in agricultural science from SLU and is a pioneer in Swedish agroforestry. He's going to be telling us about his farm, Stora Juleboda, where he, together with his family, explores permaculture farming with the close integration of animal husbandry into the farming system, how it can strengthen resilience and create beneficial synergies in production. Marcus is also engaged in developing value chains for Swedish organic apples through collaborative development projects. He will be our first speaker and speak in a few minutes from now, about 45 minutes. At the end, we have 10 minutes of questions, and you can save your questions for then. After that, we have Charlotte Sommarin. She is the chairperson of the nonprofit association Sörmlandsäpplen. Through her role as chair, as a project manager in several development initiatives, she holds comprehensive knowledge of how to drive development of sustainable apple production in Sweden through collaboration with producers and industry stakeholders. We're very pleased to have her here. After that, Katarina Odovishenko. She is a researcher in horticulture and plant breeding at the Swedish University of Agricultural Science. She works with apple genetic resources and the quality of planting material. Her researches focus on understanding apple diversity, identifying cultivars, studying genetic variation, and detecting genes related to traits like disease resistance and fruit quality. In collaboration with Ukrainian research institutions, she has been working with apple collection, including traditional and old cultivars, helping to understand better the how to preserve this diversity. So this is today's schedule. We start on the farm level, move up the value chain to value-added activities through their cooperative, and finish off with um, very high-level science related to the Apple value chain. Uh, as I mentioned, each talk will be about 35 minutes long and finish off with questions in the end. You're welcome to post your questions in the chat, but we welcome everyone to save your questions and then post the question directly to the speaker during the questions and answers period. And I will give priority to those questions who will be posted directly by individuals. If you're not comfortable with this, of course, I will read from the chat and post the question, perhaps paraphrasing a little bit. I would also like to remind you that there are links to each speaker's presentation sent out via email. So you are very welcome to open up those presentations and have them either in English or in Ukrainian, whichever you prefer. And I think that's about it. Each presenter will start with a brief presentation of themselves as well to remind us who we are listening to. And without further ado, welcome, Marcus. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule this time of year to be with us this morning. Take it away. Thank you.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Anders, for the presentation. And I'm gonna present my farm and what we do here. And it's usually we do the presentation in Swedish, so it's a little bit hard for me to do it in English, but I will try. And usually when I have presentations, we take the question during the presentation. So if it's okay with you, Anders, it would be nice to make some short stops and then we can do the questions there when we move to the next chapter because uh, I think that's easier way to do it. And
That it's
I also don't know how long time it will take when I have this presentation in English. So I think that's a good way to do it.
That's an excellent way. In that case, I suggest that everybody who has a question will raise their hand, and Marcus can say when he would like to answer questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Uh, okay. So the name of the farm that we have here in South Sweden is Stora Gylleboda Gård. It's a farm that was created in the medieval time, so it's a very old farm. It was actually started up in when this part of Sweden were Danish. So it's much a Danish kind of farm, the buildings, and also the names around surrounding the farm is having Danish names. And it's right by the coast, so it's really in the in the past the farm has been very much uh, into also like what the sea can give you. So that gave us a new perspective when we moved here, that you need to think about the whole system, also the water. And now I see if I can get the we when we came here, the farm was not in very good shape because the previous owner first had an conventional apple farm, about 20 hectares, and when it started to not go so well, they turned it over to organic farming to get some more support from the EU. and the last 6, 7 years of their ownership, they didn't do anything at all. So they just let everything be as it was. So when we came here, we had a big advantage of already having a very big diversity of bugs and birds. Also, the farm is located by very close by to the forest, and it's also a sand kind of step next to it, and then the sea, and then it's floating a river through the farm. So we have like the spot is good for what we want to do or what we're doing, and we learn by a lot of things. We learned by the nature. They tell us stuff, and then we try to accomplish that here. So do I have any questions so far? It's good. Uh, We have I have some. Oh. So the farm today is about 120 hectares of farmland, uh, and out of that, 40 hectare is fruit trees or connected to berries and fruit.
Sorry, I guess we stuck with the first slide and you're
Okay.
talking about second.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like everything is kind of. I don't know why.
If you would prefer it, I could share the slides and you just tell me to when you need to change the slide.
I don't know what's happening. But the sound is good. You hear me still, or?
Yes, yes.
Mm?
Yeah, the sound is absolutely great. Just that the
Oh,
slides are not changing.
oh, okay. It says that I lost my connection, so I don't know if it's.
You're still
Marcus,
with
I
us.
think it's a
So
good idea if you stop sharing and Linus will share instead, and you can just ask him when to switch slides. Oh,
Oh, okay.
you also need to put on presentation mode, please.
Yeah, I stop sharing.
yes.
We can let them.
So
Okay.
there we are.
Mm? Yes. Yeah. So now it's. So I start again. So the orchard is about 40 hectares, and 25 of that is apple, and maybe 15 of that is like normal apple lines that you see in these pictures. Normal, so to speak, that it's apple trees, apple trees, apple trees. It's like a monoculture. We cultivate in line in the lines of the rows with a special cultivator, and we we do that very rarely nowadays because the nettles that comes very often in these lines we pick and sell. So it's more or less normal apple orchard. Then we have about 25 now 15 hectare of permaculture kind of way of growing, and there it's very mixed. So it's more like a jungle than a normal apple line. And we have like in these lines we have pears, uh, blackcurrant, uh, sea buckthorn, Japanese quince, plums, and gooseberries, blueberries, blackcurrants, red currants. And then it's also we pick a lot of wild herbs or weeds in these lines. Um, And here is a picture from the permaculture, and the species that really like to be there take over. So sea buckthorn is very good for this kind of soil that we have. So it's about 5 to 10 centimeters of normal soil and normal or sandy soil, and after that is pure sand. So if we go back to the history, the the farm had the same owners from it turned Swedish until 1945. And when I look at that now in perspective, I think it has to do with that in the 50s, the first tractors started to come into this area, and the sandy soil was not an advantage anymore. So you could grow on much better soils, and then the kids of the farm didn't want to keep on doing it because they thought it was no use. It was hard to compete with other farms. And then the owners from the 50s to we bought it in 2020 haven't had it. The owners just before us tried to do some growing, but they had it more like a sidestep. They had other businesses that was the main part of the income. So it has been like a summer resident or something like that for 60, 70 years. The grazing lands on the farm hadn't been used since the 80s when we came here. So that's a little bit about that. We have about 180 different crops on the farm, but apples are the biggest one, and we are on the farm. It's 11 people more than the family that work, and they all work year-round with a normal like kind of contract in Sweden. And the turnover of the company is about slightly over 1 million euro a year, and apples are about 4 million out of that. So over 400,000 out of that in euro.
You just say next slide whenever you want the next slide. Is it now?
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have any questions? No. So in pretty early on when we came here, we started to put animals into the system. At the first it was to help us take out plants and so on, because it was a lot of dead. All the apple trees that was here when we moved here were dead trees because they turned the water off, and it was really small root systems of the apple trees. So when the water was turned off, the apple tree couldn't survive themselves. We have only planted apple trees with big root systems, so it's more like A2's kind of root system, if you know the different type of roots that apple trees can have. And we are very close to the groundwater, so we try to get the trees to get the root system down to 1.2, 1.5 meters under the soil, because there we have free water. So that's our main goal, and we can see that sometimes this succeed, and then the tree can survive by themselves very easily. The biodiversity is very important for us, and when we moved here at first, it was not to be apple growers. More to have it was our oldest daughter that found the farm, and she wanted to have the farm because it had good fencing to go out with the breeding dogs that we had. And then when we came here, it was already a lot of research from the SLU in Olnap. And one of the researchers were Marco Tassin. He was from Italy, and I think he was here as a guest researcher for a couple of years. And he had he had a lot of different projects going on here to see how the pests, when you can use pesticides or not use pesticides, and how much the bugs, how much the bugs could grow in this kind of environment. And he saw that the beneficial organisms that were here were doing such a good job that when we planted new apple trees, could help them a little bit more by putting bushes and different kind of varieties of plants, and that would create an environment that we didn't need to use any pesticides or so on. And it also a lot of solitary bees and bumblebees and wasps here for the pollination. So it's the natural pest control is important part of our system nowadays. And so far since 2014, we never had an outbreak in this area. We had one on wraps, but then it was grown as a monoculture. Then they took it all. But in this place, it's so good biodiversity that one insect is not that you're scared of cannot take over that way. We also have chickens you can go back again. We have chickens in the apple orchard, and the chickens are grazing the grass in between the trees, and they do a fantastic job with that. And the eggs get very good yellow, and are very attractive to customers that start to buy the eggs. Yes. Yeah, maybe we can take okay. Yeah. Yes, so I got a question there about the hurt that the animals can do, and that's a good question. Uh, when we started with the chickens in the apple lines, the um, yeah, we had some questions from the local authorities about how we controlled so the chickens don't puke on the apples. And we need to think how we should do this. And one of the biggest things is that you need to take the chickens in at night, make sure that everybody goes in at night, because otherwise they will start to live in the trees. But if you take them in every day, then they will not go up in the trees at all. So far they haven't been in the trees. And also we move them quite often. So the chickens we move every 7 to 10, every every week we move the chicken houses to a new spot, and then we have fences and put up around them, and then they graze this area, and then we move to the next spot. And from the start, our idea was to have 21 chicken box of 200 chickens, and it's like a trailer, camping trailer. It kind of looks like a camping trailer, and then we could move it around, so in 1 year we would graze all the orchard. So 1 hectare is probably good for 220 chickens. And with the pigs, it's the same thing, that you need to move them quite often, otherwise they will hurt the trees. So if we don't move them, we tested it, and they in an area that we should replant, and after 2 months they took out the trees, and then after 3 months there was nothing left at all. They make everything back to only soil. We could see a difference between these like normal pigs that you see on this picture, and then we have one group of mixed with wild boar, and this group with wild boar doesn't hurt the plants, the trees, as much as this like normal bred pigs do. So it's different pigs do different harms. And we also have one group of pigs from Berkshire, and half of that group is born on the farm, and the other half is born on other farms. And the ones that born on other farms, where they not go out as much, or they're out on a beton concrete kind of place, they don't work with the soil as much as the one that are born here and now know the soil. So it seems that it takes some time to pick it up again if you don't used to it. Did it came another question?
Yeah, here is
Yes.
one question regarding the.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think I need to remind you that we're about halfway through your time, and for us to be able to go through
Yeah.
all aspects of the farm, it might be
Yeah.
better to save the question for the
Okay.
questions and answers. If
Okay.
that
So then
is
we
okay with you,
go.
Marcus.
Yeah, we go to the next picture. So could you, yeah. So now one part of having a farm is to have like a cash flow during the year, and we learned this the hard way by losing all the apple flowers in 2019, and we didn't know what to do. And then we tried to grow everything in the lines. But what really helped us was the nettles and the wild garlic. So we then became, for the wholesalers in Helsingborg, everything goes through one place in Sweden almost, if you count to fruit and greens. And that's in Helsingborg, town in Skåne. And they then stopped the import of nettles from France, and then we could sell so much of this, and it's really growing very good here. So we can skip to the next slide. We have about 15 different varieties of apples, and it's mostly fruit that we try to sort for first class and sell as eating apples. And the percentage that is good enough to be sent that way is about 50% of the apples we grow. The rest we do apple juice or marmalade of. And I think we can move to the next slide. All apples are picked by hands, and it's about 300 tons of apples a year. And we have 4 girls that works here from Ukraine that do a lot of the apple picking. And when you come here to visit, it was we want you to meet them so they can tell you all about that. They also are specialists in picking these wild herbs that we do now in the spring. Yes, we can take the next slide. Yeah, so we already talked about the chickens. We here you can see some more pictures of them moving around. So these pigs on the top here is actually pigs that are have a grandpa that is a wild boar, and it's a neighbor that have this mixture. So we bought some pigs from him, and I think they are very good with the soil and in that kind of way. Sometimes they could though get upset about me, so we stopped with these pigs because they were too tough. And the lines, maybe you see the green lines in the that help support the apple trees when they were young, is kind of dangerous. So it's easy to trip over them if the pigs come after you. The chickens we use is a French breed, Bresse. It's a region in France, but they also have this chicken. You're not allowed to call it a Bresse when it's not in Bresse, but it's the same genes. And I think they give not give as much eggs as a hybrid, but um, we can have the whole chain here. So we hatch them, and the males we sell as meat, and the girls are giving us eggs. So I like the way the system works. We can take the next slide. Because of the very soily sandy soil here, we early understood that we needed water, and this is a pound that we digged, and then we just took like it was like wet area, but we could only help it with the things that only already growed here, and this is when the pound is only 2 years old, and it's came alive so very good. So it's really nice to see, and the water is very clean, and it's a lot of water because we're so close by the sea. So all water coming here, and then the sea is holding the water back. So everywhere you dig, you have water. Yes, we can put the next slide on. Yes, we have our own sorting facility. So we sort the apples the day after they are picked, and then we sell the first class apples directly, and the other apples go into our processing lines also directly. So we have not so big fridges, so we try to get the uh, really fast production. And we also think that the taste is better if you do the juices and marmalades directly. So, and also the organic apples that are sorted away have a very short life left. So it's really urgent to do it fast. So we take the next slide. So it's now I'm gonna try to explain our line of fruit pressing. So what you see in the top is a bin tipper. So we put the apples that are sorted away in the bin, and then we drive it over to this facility and then put it in the bin tipper, and then it tips the apples on this sorting line. And here you could take if it's some apples that you think is not good enough for the juice, and we are very picky about that. So we almost want them to look perfect also here to give a good juice. After this, so we take the next picture. Depending on how quickly you can process them, how good you sort them, you need to be 1 or 2 persons there. Here the apple comes to this, it's a water bath, and here they are washed, and then it's a screw that brings them up to the mill. And that I think is on the next picture. Did it skip one picture, or was this one? No. Okay. So this is the end of the using machine, and it's a belt press from Germany, And this is the rest here from the apples we give directly to the pigs. So they took care of everything. And in the beginning, they're really happy about this, and they like having throwing it up in the air when we comes with the first apples. But they in the end of the season they don't run anymore, but they still eat it, so they get used to it. And but it's very way, I think it's a very good way to process this energy that is still there. Yes, we take the next picture. Oh, so here you see that picture of the pigs and the apples. So, and maybe we could change picture again. We talked a lot about the animals. So after the juice is pressed, we usually keep it overnight for sedimentating, and then we process it to different bottles and cans. And the cans we do at the neighbor's place, but the bottles and the bagging box we do here on our own facility. And we have a large scale of different products that comes out, because if you have like a big diversity, you also get a very big diversity of products. And we really try to sell the whole span of biodiversity that we create. So maybe the next picture. Yeah, here you can see some other examples of products. And the marmalades that we do is we have another process for. So it's like a destoner that we use for all the other berries than apple and pears. And we also, when we do drinks, we do it with the destoner, and then we mix the puree to different kind of drinks. And yes, and we can take the next. Yeah, this is an old, this is a 500 liters boiling pot that we use for yams. And it's from the beginning, it was to make cheese. So but we use it's go up to 98 degrees, or we can also put it to 48 degrees if we want to do vinegar or something like that. But it's very helpful to have a big boiling pot when you do this kind of stuff. And we heat also up the berries before we process them in the destoner. Yes, we can take the next picture. So here is my wife to the left, and then our four girls from Ukraine that works here, and they been working here for 2 years, and it's very nice to have them here. And they start. We have some like language barriers because we need to speak English, and it's not the first language for them, and it's not the first language for us. So I think that's the biggest problem that we have, is to make everything like the communication, how we communicate. And we started now to communicate also with WhatsApp and these AI apps to translate and write. And I think AI kind of help us to do it easier, but sometimes it still get very confusing, because we also have people from other countries as guest workers. We are a woofing farm, so it can come here as a guest and do volunteer work. And we also mix Swedish and English and Ukrainian and Polish and Italian words in the communication, and it sometimes gets really weird. Last week we had a situation like that, because one of the workers that are born in Thailand but raised in Sweden was telling its break, and in Sweden we call it fika. And so he yelled out, "Olena, fika!" But in Italian, fika has a completely different meaning. You have to look it up yourself because I cannot tell it here. So it became very funny. So we can take the next picture. So we do sell to the big wholesales in Helsingborg, and they are like mostly national uh, chains. Like Martin and Savira is the biggest wholesale in Sweden. Everman and Menego and so on. They are other ones that do almost the same, and they usually owned by multinational companies. So the final destination is some island in a canal in between EU and England, I think. So it's kind of sad. We would really like to that it was more different ones that were wholesalers, so they had a different kind of competition, and that they don't. Most of them uh, buy our products and they sell them minimum of one time before they hit the floor in their storage. So it's already sold to someone else that's gonna sell it again. And usually the setup is that they have two companies that they own. So it's coming to they buy it in one company, that company sells it directly to the next one, and that one sells it to the restaurants. But it's actually only one owner of this chain. And I don't know what to do about it. And then we have ICA, and they are way too big in Sweden. So it's very difficult for us to get our products there. And the products are in high quality is difficult to sell in these kind of places because it's difficult for the consumer to see the difference between the products, to see if it's 17% of apples in it or if it's 100% of apple in it. It's difficult for the customer to see. And they make it difficult for them because, of course, you can make a lot of more money if you sell a low quality product that looks like a high quality product. Then we work with restaurants like Taldungen, Noma, and Vyn. So the last 2 years they started up a restaurant close by here. So we have a very tight collaboration with them, and they are really good. So we're learning a lot from these restaurants. And today, for example, we are drying algae for them. So we have a very tight also product that they buy from other people. We help them to process here to perfection, and then we leave them to them. And then next time I came there for delivery, they say, "Hey, Marcus, come, you can taste this," and then it's some completely different again. So it's so funny to see how they can really make magic with the supplies. We do collaborate with a lot of university. At the same time, it has been 7 different university on the spot. So and it's also because of the location. The nearest neighbor that do farming is far away. So this is usually like a zero point for how things are when they're not so much infected by neighbors. Yes, we see.
Sorry to interrupt. We only have a few minutes left, so you can
Yes, I
round
think
off with
yeah,
questions.
yeah. We have that was maybe the last slide. Yeah, we have some certifications. So we are organic certified. Then the Krav is like a Swedish certification. It's not no big difference between the organic EU certification and Krav. It's almost the same. And Sigil is more for having checklists of how to do stuff safe. So that's a very good certification. And then from Sweden is is that it's mostly Swedish ingredients in the products. Yes. Maybe that was the last question, the last slide.
Yeah, seems like it was.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Marcus. This is it's a beautiful place that you have as well that hasn't been quite reflected from the slides. So interesting, so many different uh, tracks of production, and you combine it very well with a beauty of the countryside. So thank you for this presentation. I was accidentally kicked out of so I lost my the order of the questions in the chat, but everyone is welcome to raise their hands, and perhaps Hannah will be able to help me to choose the order of the questions. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question? We have Alexander, I see.
You said in your presentation that on your farm, sandy soil, and in your agroforestry activity, maybe you analyzed the rate of the improving your agroforestry activity with apple trees and chicken and so on to improve the sandy soil.
Yeah, I cannot present the results, but we are a part of something that is called svensk kolinlagring, Swedish carbon um, organization, and it's they do measurement when you start, and then they do every second or third year. So I know that we have some test results, but I haven't really analyzed them or how much you could see after just a few years.
Thank you. What can you say about sandy soil? In its natural state, is it normal to grow the apple trees, or you need some fertilizer and organic also?
Yes, so we have sheeps and pigs and chicken, so we use this manure, and we also buy some manure from uh, biogas place that they do to pellets. So we use this as a manure for the apple trees, or everything we grow. We use the same. So it's a mixture of these two.
Thank you.
It was another question in the chat before Anders has dropped out of the call. So there was a question regarding the photo or picture of your portable chicken houses. If you have, maybe you can share in the chat because people are
Yeah.
interested how it looks like.
Yes. I will
Yeah.
do that during the day here.
Yeah, great. And we also have two questions from Andri Marinets in a chat. Anders, do you see them in English? The last ones?
These ones I see from 944.
Yeah.
Question number should question number one. How do you protect fruit trees during the season from pests and disease? And question number two, what measures do you take to improve the soil? For example, green manure and mulching. I suppose you've touched on the second one, but
Yeah. Yes, we do the green manure and mulching. We also take from our normal crops growing. We take the like ensilage and stuff like that and mulch down. And for the pest, protect the fruits during the season, it's mainly that we can, if we have a problem, uh, water wheel or water mouse is a big problem because these sandy soils, they really attract them, and they eat the root of the apple trees. So, but we can see that they don't like pigs, they don't like chickens. So if you can put, if I see I have a problem, I move the chickens or the pigs there. Uh, Otherwise, we take uh, leaves and send to a laboratory in Holland to get how the plants are doing, and then we try to fertilize them also with a sprayer with these microorganisms, and we also have like a multi microbes that we spray on the trees, and we spray some milk on the trees as well. So and yeah, so we use like old kind of uh, protections for apple trees. But you can say that everything that we spray on the apple trees, we would also eat or drink. So that's how we think about it. And we want them to be strong. Then we think they have less problems. And we also have like a lot of other bugs that eat each other. So in that case, we don't have any big problems at all. So it's in this, it's about 26,000 different kind of bugs, and in apples, it's usually four that you're scared of, and they don't get enough space if you have the other 26,000 different ones. And it's like so intense this that the researcher in at Lund's University, the professor, he's not coming here anymore for the äppelvecklare because he say this is too much work to me to find the äppelvecklare at your place. It's so much easier to go to a conventional farm where they are so many. I don't need to like make a big effort to find them. And when he told me that, then I myself understand how important the biodiversity is.
That's a wonderful receipt to see that what you're doing is working well.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
And I can also say I saw now in the chat that someone was helping me a little bit. And if you go to our Instagram page, you will get a lot of pictures of everything. So you get a better view of what I try to explain for you.
Nice. Hannah, do you have a question lined up? Otherwise, I have an elaboration. Please, Hannah.
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, I have two questions. One is related quite to forestry part of agroforestry. My question would be how long is rotation for apple trees in the orchards? And do you need any permits, whatever, to remove it and replace it? And maybe second question, I will go after your response.
Mm. Um, uh, so I don't think I need a permit to take out trees or plant new trees. We the road systems that we plant are big, so we hope they have a long life. So I would try to have them for 50 years. So what
Mhm.
we're planting now is for the next generation, hopefully.
Mhm.
Mm,
Excellent.
mm.
And my following question regarding all the impressive benefits you have mentioned regarding agroforestry itself, but do you see any disadvantages of agroforestry system you have compared to conventional systems?
Yeah, so we the cash the best part with agroforestry is the cash flow because you get the money straight away. So we start to harvest in February, the nettles and the rumslök, and that's very good for the cash flow. So that's a very big part of it. Because if I would only grow apples, I would need to wait for the money until the autumn. So
Mhm.
this I really like. The disadvantage is that the apples are very difficult to pick because they are in lines with other stuff. They also, didn't plant only one variety of apples. We changed all the time, and it makes it really time consuming to drive, and it's also I need high quality staff to work here because it's otherwise maybe they mix the apples in from the same line in the same bin, and then we have like a very big problem because of the sales are variety by variety instead of just apples. And it would have been much better for everybody if we sold mixed apples, because then they get the microbes from different kind of apples at the same week, and that would be good for everybody that eats the apples. Because if when you start to fermentating, that we also do cider and so on the spot, you learn how different yeast and microbes are working and give different taste, and they also protect you from different stuff in your own stomach. So you should think about what you put in your stomach, and get a biodiversity there as well. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marcus. We need to have a 5 minute break for the next speaker, but it was a wonderful presentation, and hopefully we can save the last questions until all of the speakers have made their contributions. So thank you very much, and we now take 4 minutes. We're down to actually. So at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Ukrainian time, we are back for our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lot, are you here and ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Okay, good. I'll just go refill my coffee as well, and I'll see you. Oh, Charlotta, let's take it away. You can remind us a little bit about who you are if your presentation doesn't include this. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. My name is Charlotte Sommarin. I am one of the founders of a non-profit organization, Föreningen Sörmlandsäpplen. And we started in Sörmland, and I will show you a picture of Sweden, a map of Sweden soon, so I can show where we are. And we started in Sörmland like 10 years ago. And we are working for make Swedish fruit the natural and obvious choice for all Swedes. And this might sound surprising, but you will hear that it's not. So I'm actually a chairman for this organization, and I will talk to you about the organization more or less. So we can change picture now. We can switch. Yes, Sörmlandsäpplen. As I said, we are a non-profit association that was formed in 2014 with the purpose to promote the cultivation and processing of fruit in central Sweden with a focus on apples and the region of Sörmland. And now we have around about 400 members throughout the country from the south to the north. And our aim is to make the cultivation and processing of fruit a profitable business throughout the country. And this is the history is that it's not like this right now, or it wasn't like this until we started. So you can switch again. Well, here you can see Sweden. Sweden is a really long country. It's not as big as Ukraine, of course, but it's a long country. And apples are the only fruit that can be grown throughout the country, except in the mountains in the far north. And you can see the blue. The blue is what we call more or less Götaland, or the southern part of Sweden. And in the end, could you maybe show with en pekare, Linus? Skåne, could you show Skåne? Skåne, this is where Marcus is. And here we have like cultivation zones 1, 2, 4, or more or less. In Skåne is 1, 2, 2. I will just say this so you understand that this is really good area for growing all kind of stuff, not only apples. And then you can move to Sörmland in the yellow part. This is where we are in Sörmland, and this is called, actually, the yellow parts are called central Sweden, but we're not in the middle of Sweden, and Sörmland is just close to Stockholm. Could you show us Stockholm, Linus? Stockholm is like, well, I don't think Linus really knows geography. Well, there it is.
I don't.
Stockholm is the capital of Sweden. So in the yellow part, we have cultivation zones 2 to 5. And then we have the northern part. And as you can see, the northern part is the brown part, and it's more or less the rest of Sweden. It's huge. And the best growing conditions for fruit in Sweden are by the large lakes. We have a lot of lakes, and by the coast. And actually we have a long coast to the Baltic Sea and to the Kattegat and Skagerrak, which is actually the Nordic Sea. And today, 90% of all the Swedish apple orchards are in Skåne. But 100 years ago, there were fruit orchards all over central Sweden, but they were destroyed in the 60s when we have a big industrialization movement in the farms. And it was not profitable anymore to grow apples, and everyone started to grow like wheat and all of other kinds of stuff. So they were destroyed. Now you can switch again. As I said, this is the Swedish market. Apples are the only fruit that can be grown in the country, in the whole country. But despite that, 80% of all the apples that are sold in Sweden are imported. This is like crazy. And we want to change this in our association, because fruit growing in Sweden, especially apples, has a great potential. And we have found out that it's profitable even on smaller areas. And diversified agriculture is more resilient both to market fluctuations and to the climate, as actually Marcus already told us. And we have now a discussion in Sweden that we need to be more self-sufficient about everything. We import a lot of food, and since we can grow apples throughout the country, it would be actually really stupid not to do so. And it's also good to, of course, to plant more trees to increase carbon. Yeah, it's good anyway to plant more trees, more fruit trees. So this is what we work for. We want, as I said in the beginning, our aim is that Swedes really should eat Swedish fruit. It sounds really simple, but it's not, because we have a big problem with the food chains. They prefer actually to buy imported fruit, because if they buy imported fruit, they can buy the same variety. And it doesn't matter, like Royal Galan, it doesn't matter from where it comes. They can buy the same variety all year round from other markets. So it's a bit of a problem for the Swedish growers to get a good price at the wholesalers. And we can switch again. And when we started in 2014, we wanted to re-establish Sörmland as an apple landscape. But at the time, there were no commercial orchards in Sörmland, and we knew nothing about commercial fruit growing. It was actually really hard, because even if Sweden is not as big a country as Ukraine, it was sort of like hard to get. We didn't have anyone to ask in Sörmland, because our neighbors in Skåne who have big scale fruit orchards, they didn't really talk the same language as we did. I mean, language as we have different. The soil is different here, and the climate is different, and actually the growers said it won't work, because you can't grow apples in your part of Sweden because it's too cold and you won't find varieties, and it won't work. But we have actually proven them wrong. We also said that we are going to be organic farmer, and they said it won't work as well, but we're proving them wrong on that as well. So we actually understood that in order to succeed, we had to acquire knowledge. So we started with arranging a lot of courses, our own training, and to get help from different kinds of advisors. And we also understood very early that since we are so small and new in this field, we have to collaborate and cooperate. Because it was such a hard thing to get to learn everything about orcharding and to be new in orcharding. So we actually have to talk a lot to each other and to learn from each other, because it was too hard for each other to do it on our own. And this is really important for us, because since we have been working so closely together from the beginning, we say that we see each other as colleagues, not as competitors. And this is actually our strength. And over the years, we have helped over 60 farms to start orchards all over the country, and just as many companies to start processing business. And our farms and our processing business, they are small, but we are many. And since we are many, we are quite strong. And actually, in our association, there are more organic fruit growers, more organic fruit farms than in Skåne, but in Skåne they are bigger actually. So we have actually quite succeed. Yeah, you can switch again. Our orchards are really small, and we don't own. We most of the time we work in intensive cultivation, intensive orchards. As you see here, there are young orchards with weak root stocks. But we also have what we call extensive orchards, where we grow fruit trees on more bigger rootstocks, as Marcus said. Rootstock as Antonovka, as I guess you all know about. These rootstocks on this picture are benign. But we have shown that today that it's possible to grow fruit successfully in the whole country. But as I said, our orchards are really small, up to 7 hectares, and most of them are organic. And orcharding is not the whole business in a farm. It's just one of several business lines. And mostly our growers, they are working with other things as well. Maybe they grow other fruits, vegetables, berries, or cut flowers. Actually, cut flowers is a big thing in Sweden, and it's really profitable. But of course, they also have animals and normal farms. So fruit orcharding are just one part of the farms in this part of Sweden. And we are primarily growing apples because it's most simple. It's easiest, I would say. But we believe that other fruits such as pears, plums, cherries, and all of these will become more common in the future, as well as several kinds of nuts. Because partly because of the climate change, but also because that we understand, as Marco said before, that it's really good for a farmer to have several crops, so you can get a cash flow and secure your crop even a year when maybe we have a lot of problem with frost on or snow or cold temperatures, so maybe all our apple blooms will die, and then it's really good to don't have all eggs in the same basket, as we say in Swedish. I don't know if you say that in English. Well, anyway, we also grow rhubarb and elderberries because they're very popular ingredients for beverages. So as you see, we try to diversify our cultivation in our farms. And you can switch. We also work a lot with processing because in order to be more profitable, you need to process the fruit. You get better paid for it, and we process it to juice or to cider. And the non-alcoholic products like juice are sold in farm shops or local markets and in shops. And this is something that has grown rapidly during the last 10 years, I would say, in Sweden. So this is a good market, and it's also a good market for the processing business, because we process juice to private gardeners who have a couple of fruit trees in their garden, and they asks us to process the fruit to juice. And it's really profitable, and you get well paid when you do it. So this is a good thing. And when we have our preparatory meeting yesterday, and I told about the alcohol, how we work with alcohol in Sweden, Hanna just laughed. But it's like this. Since the summer of 25, last summer, farm sales of alcohol in small quantities have been permitted in Sweden. And I guess this is nothing for you in Ukraine, but in Sweden, this is huge. This is such a big game changer for all the fruit growers to be able to process the juice to alcohol, because we weren't allowed to do this before. We have very regulated sales of alcohol. So this is a big revolution that really has made it really profitable for a lot of small farmers who have orchards. They can do not only process things to juice, but they can also do alcoholic, like vodka, apple brandy, or cider. And this is something that gives us also the possibility to work a lot with tourism. So because the requirement for selling alcohol on the farm is that the sale must take place in connection with an event, like a guided tour, or you have something you have to talk about the farm, how you grow apples, or how you do your processing and so on. And this is good. This is good because people get interested and people really buy. And we can take a good price for these products as well. So this is a big success for us and for the tourism industry. Yeah, you can change again. So we sell locally to restaurants, to resellers who works with restaurants, to shops, and also to the public sector. And I don't know really the word for it, but the translation was the public sector. That means schools, hospitals, and so on. That is run by the state. And this is really important for us. The resellers who works with restaurants are very important. They buy the highest quality and they give us sort of like a seal of quality. And the thing is that since most of our farms are located really close to big cities, we don't need to store our apples. We can pick them when they are really ripe and red and beautiful, and we can deliver them more or less directly. So we can get a really good price for what in EU standard is called like extra prima. And this is really good. So we get well paid for that. But the public sector or the state, as I said, is another really important partner because they can buy fruit that does not fit for consumers in shops, because we have to work for EU standards that apples that are too small or apples that are too big doesn't fit in the EU standards, and we can't sell them to the shops, but we can sell them with high quality, and we are very well paid to the public sector in our part of Sweden. So we have a really good profitability, partly because we are located near Stockholm, but also because we can sell to the public sector. The public sector really want to buy local, and they pay very well. They pay really, really good. So it's good for us. And you can switch. Yeah, we work a lot with marketing and storytelling. As we are small scale and in another part of Sweden, we need to describe and distinguish our fruit and our produce both from other Swedish growers and from important fruit. And in marketing, you talk about something called USPs, and our USPs is that we are small scale, and therefore we can pick our fruit at the right time, which gives extra high quality. And of course, when we are marketing our apples, we can also say things like we are picking our apples with love and with care and so on. And everything is handpicked. And we grow organically. That's quite big. It can be hard to be organic in Sweden, but for us, it's really good. We work without pesticides, and it works well for us, and we can. It's good for the market for us for having a good price. But actually, maybe not everyone need to be organic. We can also say that we are local, and to be local means that you are very close to a big city, and therefore the consumers and also the shops thinks that we are better than other ones. It's silly, but it works that way. And we grow both very well-known commercial varieties and older cultural historical varieties, as I think that Katarina will speak about later on. And in the picture you see Åkerö, which is the apple of our region, and it's one of Sweden's most beloved apple varieties. And we have now applied to the EU to receive a protected label for this apple, and a label that you can compare with wine made in Champagne in France or Parmesan cheese in Italy. So we work both with commercial varieties, but also with local varieties. And local varieties is important because they talk to the, what shall I say? They talk to the spirit of the people. Many people remember this variety as åkerö from their childhood, that maybe their grandmother had it in the garden, and they love it. So we are getting very well paid for some of these old varieties that are not so easy to grow because the skin of the apple are very delicate, and so it's not that easy to grow, and it gets a lot of canker and so on, but we grow it anyway since it's really well paid. And we work like this with not only with åkerö, but also in the other parts of Sweden that we are trying to pick up a local variety and make it sort of like reintroduce it to the market. And nowadays, since we also can work with apple brandy and so on, we can add this like a special value also to the juice or to the brandy. Now we can switch. So how do we work? I think actually our success as organization is that we start from real needs. Normally, or before we started in Sweden, the state or the Ministry of Culture and so on had tried to restart like different kinds of crops and also apple growing. But it didn't really work out. I think actually our strength is that we are an association that work together, and we are working with our members' needs and wishes. So we have a bottom-up perspective. And it's really important because we are also working a lot with projects. We are getting money from the state. There is an EU fund called the Leader, which is for local development in the countryside, and we are working a lot with this kinds of project money to build up. What shall I say? Not only farming, but like not cooperatives, but to build up our association in different parts of Sweden. So we have, during to these projects, we have local clusters, and we are now starting clusters in the beginning we were just in Sörmland or close to Sörmland, but now we are in different parts of Sweden, a little bit more far from Sörmland, for example, Gotland. And I've actually seen there are two members from Gotland listening to this now. Gotland is an island in the Baltic Sea, and also in Hälsingland, which is a little bit north in Sweden, in the brown part, as I showed you in the beginning. And it's really, really beneficial for us all that we work closely from the bottom, and we work together. So we are actually, and this means that when we are doing courses, we can actually, how shall I say this? When we work together with the state, when we are arranging a lot of courses in apple growing or in orcharding or in whatever, these courses are nearly always full because we are managing to make courses that actually are needed. I can't explain it better than that. I think it's just because we have this bottom-up perspective. And we work a lot with exchange of experience all of the time. We can learn from each other. This is our big thing. And also that we always say that we want to be generous and share knowledge within our group. Actually, in our association, everyone can be a member. If you share our values and are interested in fruit, you can be a member of our association, even if you're not a professional farmer. But our aim is to work for professional farming of apples, but everyone who is curious can be a member. And that, I think that also is strange, because since everyone can be a member, also we have a lot of people being members that are sort of like our, what shall I say, our advocates, and who could tell everyone that we need to eat Swedish apples and buy Swedish fruit instead of imported fruits. And also, again, we work a lot with collaboration and cooperation. We make like joint orders of fruit trees. We order our fruit trees from mostly actually from Europe. We have been ordering them from Holland and the Netherlands and Belgium, but we are looking at other countries right now because there's a problem with fruit trees and materials from these countries. And we work also with like coordination of discounts for material for orcharding. And we are helping each other to selling together, and we are helping each other to standing together and sell each other products at fruit fairs and markets. So this is how we work together. And it's just for free will. I mean, it's not like we're getting paid for it or something, but we help each other, and we need to help each other since we are so small and we are so new in our area in Sweden. Yeah, you can change again. So we think that our success is that we share knowledge, and we have experience exchange in digital ERFA meetings. We call them ERFA meetings, with experience exchange every Monday all year round. So, and since these meetings are digital, everyone can participate, and since our farmers are our farmers, maybe in a farm they are the only one who works with apples, and maybe there's a big distance to the next apple grower or fruit grower or orchardist. These digital meetings are really important, because then you can meet college and discuss problems with bugs, or problems with fertilization, or problems with frost or whatever, together all over the country. So this is really something important and very special for us that we have this. This is not very common in Sweden otherwise. And of course, you listened to Marcus before, and Marcus is also, and Stora Juleboda is also an example of a not at all a normal Swedish fruit grower. Marcus and Stora Juleboda is a very fine example of daring to think new. And this is also our aim. We think that we are building a new industry in our part of Sweden, and we are not stuck in old habits. We dare to try a new solution and new business ideas. And this giving us a kind of freedom that I think is a key to our success. But also, again, our mantra, what we always say to everyone, is that we are colleagues, not competitors. And we want to be generous and share knowledge and experience in our community. And also, everyone is welcome to join our community, but also everyone is expected to contribute to our common development. So this is how we work. And you can switch. Maybe this was the last one. Was this? Yeah.
It was the last one.
This was the last one. So
Thank
now,
you.
please have questions.
Thank you so much, Carlotta. And I want to say as well that many organizations that are of a similar scale and with similar objectives as you look to you as a role model. That it seems like you have been very successful in achieving the aims you've set out, and that's a wonderful thing to see, and it's good for Swedish small scale producers and consumers as well. So for the questions, we have a few questions in Ukrainian. Could Hannah please?
No, it's not a question, it's just my remark that we can have a questions in Ukrainian. So, шановні учасники, якщо у вас є запитання, не соромтесь задавати їх українською.
Dear
Їх буде
participants,
перекладено.
if you have questions, please ask them in Ukrainian, and our colleagues will get interpretations.
I want to say you about local apple varieties in Sweden. Is it enough for your country, or you need to looking for from another countries which also can good growth in your country?
Well, we are very, since we are growing apples in, as I said, the northern part of Sweden, we are very curious and very interested in varieties that works well for organic farmers in our cultivation zones, because we have some problems with some of the commercial varieties that are made in Europe, because they don't really work so high up. And since I know that you have had a very big development about varieties in Ukraine, it would be very interesting to try your varieties in our parts of Sweden, actually. And I will say this, even if this is we have SLU here, the University of Agriculture here, but we'll say like this, Föreningen Sörmlandsäpplen doesn't really think that we get the interest that we should have from the agriculture, the Swedish agriculture in this field, that we really need to develop varieties that works in northern part of Sweden for commercial use. But for local varieties, the one that we grow, and when we talk about your sentiments, about your grandmother and so on, then we have a lot of varieties. So we don't need them, but we need new varieties. And not only apples, we are very interested in apricots, vad heter persika? Nectarines, well, peach. I lost my English. We are very interested in everything like this, like figs, rose hips, berries and so on, that we could use for strengthen our farmers and also working with beverages.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. I might add that we're also interested in nuts of different kinds. It's an excellent complement to the fruit orchards.
Yeah.
We have a question from Jose. Do you have members in Jämtland? And what about local apple varieties? I assume he's talking about apple varieties in Jämtland specifically.
We have members in Jämtland, and as I said, everyone is welcome as a member. And if you want to know about local varieties and varieties that works in Jämtland, please send me an email, because that's a different subject.
Excellent. We have a question from Vasil. He's raising his hand.
Yes, of course. Many thanks, Charlotta, for very nice presentations. And do you know, this is I have actually the two questions. It's a spring now, and we are anxiously awaiting frosts. How do you deal with the spring frosts? Or maybe do you prioritize growing late flowering varieties? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, the spring frost is it's a big problem from some of our growers, and actually it's a very big problem for Marcus. So Marcus is actually the specialist of spring frost. But I can say in our small scale farms, we try. We have in the middle part of Sweden, we have this. It's like this. First, the plums are blooming, flowering, and then the cherries, and then the pears. And normally, actually, in my part of Sweden, the plums maybe could be a problem with the spring frost, but normally the cherries and the pears is okay. And then we get a dip. It's getting colder normally, and it's getting really cold when the apples are starting to bloom. So the early varieties, the early blooming varieties could be in danger, but the late blooming varieties in my part of Sweden are not a problem. But the interesting thing is that further up in Sweden, like in the part of Hälsingland, the spring flowering is coming. It's colder up there, but the spring flowering is coming later, and the varieties are more or less blooming very shortly during the same time. So they are not as the spring frost is not such a big problem for them. It's really strange. But this is like further up in Hälsingland. But for us, it's a problem. But we work with we try to choose the right varieties, and then it's to check the temperature. And since we are small scale growers, watchers, we can work with fires, trying to make a smoke, to make and also with the small scale, what is the word for that? Fläktar, small
Fans,
scale
yeah.
fans that are moving the air. But actually, I will leave the questions to Marcus, because he's the specialist, because he has the biggest problems on spring frost.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I understood. The next question. So you mentioned the development of other fruit species, so apricots, plums, peaches, etc. So do you practice growing apples with other fruit species, something like the syntropic agroforestry?
No, we don't. Not right now. We don't grow them together. We grow them in the same orchards, but we don't grow them together like in an agroforestry surrounding. There are some farms that use agroforestry and are working with alley cropping. And they can mix like apples, plums, nuts, and so on. But normally in our orchards we don't mix them that way. We have them side by side, but we don't mix them one or the other.
Okay, thank you. I see.
But I think that Marcus actually should tell you about the spring frost. Please, Marcus.
Actually, you have a small plots for apple production.
Yes, so for the spring frost, we have quite big problems here because we very low and very close to the beach. They built a wall, so the cold air just get trapped in our apple trees orchards. And what worked very well for us is fans. So we have like two tractor-driven fans that is behind in a trailer, and also with gasol. So we use gas to burn. So if it's just a slightly frost, we only move the air. But if it's like heavy frost, then we also warm the air up a bit. The disadvantage with this fan that you drive around, one tractor can protect about 11 hectare because you need to be back in 15 minutes. So it's very time consuming. And if we get the frost, we have different frost alarms. And when we get them, sometimes they get as early as 10 o'clock in the evening. And then it's very time consuming because it usually leave us again about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's like May is not such a nice month if it's freezing, because then we work all day, and then when we try to go to bed, the frost alarm goes and we need to work all night. So therefore, we also tried with water. And I think water is a very good solution. And it's something called the flipper water aggregation system. And it only puts like a moist over the lines of apple trees. So it's not spreading all everywhere in the orchard. It's only on the lines. And it's because otherwise it would take so much power to drive the pumps of water. But and we have 3 hectares of water, and I think it's necessary for me to have water everywhere because otherwise my daughter will never take over this farm, and that's my goal. So and we also do fires. So we also do fires from straw, wet straw that we use, and I think that helps as well. So what we've seen during this since 2019, we've done a lot of work with this, and what we now see is that we can move the temperature about 2 degrees. So if it's where we don't do anything, it's 2 degrees lower temperature than where we do something. And that the last year saved us because we can push it down until these levels that are okay for the apples. So they about minus 2.2 is like a critical temperature when they are in full bloom. And we succeeded with to keep it at that temperature. But this year, 2019, it was -7, and we had this experience of working all day and then all night, and then we forgot to look at the tractor's diesel supply. So one tractor went out of diesel, and then I tried to help my employee to fix that, and then it froze in my garden as well. So that was when we lost it all in one night.
But I can see we have a question here from Andre about if we have tried some cryoprotector or is it not allowed in organic. We have, I don't know what cryoprotector is, but in organic we have something in Sweden called Laltismo, which is something that we can spray. I don't know if you use it, Marcus. It's quite expensive, but we use it, and we can spray the trees with this Laltismo, and it sort of like a combination of fertilizer, and it gives a protection. It sort of strengthens the buds, so it gives a protection against frost.
Yeah. If the plant is in good health, it's help them, and sometimes you can see that it has some damage, and then it help itself to heal it out and still can produce apple that year. But it's really important that the plant is healthy. So this extra energy that Charlotte is talking about, I think is very good.
Mm.
Wonderful. Alexander still has his hand raised, but I think maybe Hannah has some questions she was waving.
Yeah, I have plenty of questions actually because presentation is super interesting, and actually what we are lacking in Ukraine for the moment with the farmers, this marketing orientation and maybe this cooperation and collaboration between different producers and processors, and it's excellent work you are doing. Thank you for bring this mainstream in the concept of national fruits in consumption. It's excellent way you try to convince average Swedish person to consume local food. This is super important, not only for economy but also for environment as well. So just my appreciation to work you do. But I also have some questions, maybe let's back to funny topic on the alcohol, and I will also explain to Ukrainians that in Sweden it's not easy to buy alcohol of high content of alcohol in the average supermarket. It's a specific supermarket that called Systembolaget, so it only selling the alcohol. And actually this change in your permission to process it and produce the alcohol. But the question may be just to understand how it should be synchronized the system, or maybe how you report on the amount you produce or sell. Should you somehow to add the data on the alcohol you are producing or selling or whatever? I don't know, but it just came to my mind.
Yeah, it's like this. Well, of course, it's very regulated. It's just, we can just sell small amounts. And when you go to farm shop to buy, to sell it, as I said, we need to do a presentation. We can't just sell it like in a shop, like in a farm shop, or we have to. So actually, the buyer need to buy an experience of buying the alcohol. So this is sort of like crazy, but it's anyway, it's good. We prefer to look at this as a positive thing. So you don't, if you go into a farm shop in Sweden to buy alcohol, you don't go there to buy alcohol. You go there to buy an experience about alcohol. And this is when we talk about the alcohol, the product, or we talk about how we farm or how we work, sort of. So therefore, you have to be, as a farmer, you have to be quite inventive, so you can do different shows each time, so that the buyer will come back and buy more. And the buyer is not allowed to buy super much. It's a special amount that you can buy, only a special amount each time. And of course, you have to do a test as a seller. As a farmer, you have to do a test and you have to report, and it's a lot of things about this. So it's very regulated, but for us, it's sort of like heaven, because Systembolaget, the supermarket chain, it's not really supermarket, but the chain for alcoholic beverages, where you buy alcoholic beverages in Sweden, since you can't just buy them at Systembolaget or at restaurants. So now this change that you can go to a farm, have this experience about alcohol and buy things, is really good, because it's really hard for us to, as a small farmer, small producer, it's very, very hard to get your stuff into Systembolaget. But we're happy.
Yeah, good. That's an excellent question, and it's a nice development of your unique selling point, that you can show the real difference on the farm, beyond organic or beyond local, building trust between the consumer and the producer, getting more out of it than just a label. So we have a 10-minute break scheduled, and I think we should allow for that, to be back at 10:55 for our next speaker. Thank you again, Charlotta. I have a few more questions as well, but we save that for after the final speaker. So everyone take a break and refill your coffees, and we'll be back in a little while. Thank you. Katarina, you may try to share your screen if you wish, or you can put that up already now to make sure that everything works, and then have your break.
Yeah, I'm trying to start it. Okay, if I start like this, and I need to start. Do you see, is it like a full screen? No?
No, it's not in presentation mode.
Okay, let's start it again. Now it should work, yeah?
There we go. Wonderful.
Do you see it in, yeah, is it presentation mode? Yeah.
Yes, it's in presentation mode. And also remember that if you have any technical questions or would like to reach out to the audience, then address Hannah specifically, since this part will be in Ukrainian.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay, so I see you in 6 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ja, Anders,
Ja?
jag ska bara säga, det kanske, vi kan ju säga till de svenska och engelska deltagarna att det finns en engelsk presentation tillgång.
Just det.
Och
Lägg upp den i chatten här nu också.
Yes.
Så den finns i e-mail och i chatt.
Ja, han har lagt den i chatten ett par gånger, men jag lägger en ny till mappen.
Ja, precis. Så att de får den
Det ska de få.
färsk uppdaterad chatt. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jag ska bara värma kaffet.
checking if it works.
The time has reached 10:55. Katarina, please again give a very brief introduction to who you are, if that's not part of your presentation. And then
Thank you.
and then you're welcome to start. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna speak in Ukrainian, so it will be more clear maybe for our Ukrainian colleagues here. Отже, шановні присутні.
I'm sorry. Speaking about Ukrainian, sorry to interrupt. I forgot to remind the Swedish and English-speaking audience that we have the presentation available in English, and Linus has posted a link in the chat, and it's also available in the emails that was sent out before. But as I said, this part will be in Ukrainian, and Hanna will help lead with questions and such. Over to Katarina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anders. Так, шановні присутні.
Dear participants.
Oh, okay, sorry, I have to switch my...
Я маю перемикнути.
Так, бо я чую ваш переклад просто.
This is English channel.
Yeah, but I...
Пані Катерина, ви можете просто убрати оригінальний канал.
Okay, I can find this interpretation.
You can interject also for the English speaker. There's interpretation mode where you can switch to English.
А можете мені підказати, де в режимі sharing знаходиться interpretation?
Зупиніть поширення.
Can you show me where I can switch off the interpretation? You need to stop sharing first, and then you choose original audio, and then you will not be hearing interpretation. Okay. Now you can go back to sharing. It works, right?
Спробуйте перемкнути слайд.
Try switching the next slide.
Так, поки що на першому висить.
Що перемикається.
You're still in the first slide. For some reason, I cannot switch to the next. I can help you if you need. Well, it works already. Thank you. Good. So let's begin finally. I will be telling you about molecular tools supporting apple production to help farmers and producers to reach highest yield. About my experience, I have a long history of working at the Institute of Forestry, and for the last 2 years we worked with Swedish University of Agricultural Science. So I'm working on a grant now at Swedish, based on the grant I work now at Swedish University, so I'll share some of our achievements, and I will tell you about our various approaches, how to use molecular tools to build your orchard bed or your industrial orchard. Has many factors that would drive its success. So it will, the key components of successful commercial apple orchard will include correct cultivar choice, use the right type of apples for high quality and healthy planting material. You need sustainable a suitable rootstock selection. You need soil conditions that would be good, climate and site suitability, pollination compatibility, orchard management, and pest and disease management. The main criteria for cultivar choice. And you need to choose the quality of your fruit to match the needs of the market, the color, the size. This is all put genetically from the beginning.
Також продуктивність, адже сорт визначає потенційну урожайність майбутню в саду.
Cultivar determines potential harvest in an orchard. It's also important to see proper adaptability to climate conditions, freezing, droughts, other biotic stresses. Also, a cultivar should be genetically resistant to pests and diseases, because from this position, costs of growing will be determined. And general agritechnic requirements are important because cultivar's genetics affects its growth potential, the shaping of it, the need of cutting, the density of planting, and so on. Cultivar selection at the moment is a challenging procedure because throughout the time of apple cultivation, the humankind was able to create really thousands of cultivars. Some 15,000 apple cultivars are known to have been described in the Northern America, though about only 3,000 of them are being grown currently, and many are at risk of disappearing. Modern apple production is dominated by a small number of internationally acceptable cultivars, with the European market being shaped by just a dozen of them. There's a similar trend in Ukraine. East Fruit Agency back in 2018 mentioned Golden Delicious, Idared, Jonna Gold, and Gala, making together for more than half of the total apple production in the country. The Ukrainian cultivars presented for commercial growth in sufficient quantity only feature Renat Semerenko variety. Meanwhile, Ukraine has a substantial genetic potential to use, and the current collections at the Institute of Gardening, Podil, and Lviv research stations have more than 2,500 cultivars. Back in 2023, we kickstarted the project funded by the Maria Skłodowska-Curie Foundation to look into genomic diversity of Ukrainian apple genofonds, and we were able to look into more than 400 cultivars, including local and historical ones. These historic and cultural cultivars are of unquestionable value for the country. As Charlotte mentioned, many countries try preserving this heritage and diversity. And here is the list of cultivars that we included in our research: Renat Semirenka, Renat Kameny, and many others. Among them, that have long been cultivated in Ukraine. The historical cultivars make for slightly above 1.5% of the total genetic collection in Ukraine, but they're nevertheless locally documented. That is, we know that they had been grown across country in specific areas, and many of these cultivars are more than 100 years old. So next slide, please. Why it is important to preserve these historic cultivars of apples? Because of great diversity and resilience. This is number one. This variability may include natural resistance to diseases, pests, abiotic stresses, and the cultivars had been shaped throughout many years, undergoing certain natural selection through decades, and they are well suited to low-cost cultivation systems. Some of them require less care and less investments versus modern commercial cultivars available. Many times we see them having quite unique taste, flavor profiles, like tart, maybe aromatic, spicy, something that many modern cultivars lack. And they have nutritional and health value because of quite important high levels of pectins, antioxidants, phenolic compounds, which are beneficial to human health. These historic cultivars can be used for specialist production, say for cider production, juice, baking, other such commercial opportunities. And as Charlotte correctly mentioned it, they represent cultural and historic value. Sometimes even, well, it can be of sentimental value for many people. And surely they have breeding value because they are a valuable genetic resource that can be used during selection programs to create new cultivars with better disease resistance, better fruit quality, or better adaptability to local environmental conditions. Up until recent decades, a traditional method to identify cultivar included pomological assessment based on assessment of specific features of an apple tree. But we also see quite a substantial similarity between individual cultures, which makes it hard even for a seasoned pomologist. Given a great number of currently existing cultivars, it can be a challenge indeed to properly assess particular features of each individual cultivar. Morphological features are affected by rootstock, climate conditions, soil type, and even orchard management. So this method, despite being the basis, it's still more or less subjective. And here come molecular tools, which may help in the matter. Just a bit about SSR markers used to identify particularities of a given cultivar. They allow for a clear identification of cultivars. In practical terms, we start with collecting living material from the tree, say leaves. Then we extract DNA from the sample and have a PCR assay. You know it from human lab circumstances. It can be used to identify pathogen, paternity tests, and so on. Then we analyze in the lab setting these fragments to get a unique genetic profile, which is a combination of SSR markers individual for each cultivar. Like on this slide, you can see a bit from an analysis of a cultivar. This is a result of our project-related activity. For Ascolda cultivar, you can see very characteristic SSR values, positively identifying Ascolda from other cultivars. So how this can be used as a knowledge? There are cultivars with identical names. In our case, we had the one called Rubin, though there are two of them actually, one hailing from the Czech Republic, another from Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, markings are sometimes lost during the growing, and this may lead to questions as to what exactly a cultivar we are growing. Based on the analysis, we are able to get a unique DNA passport for each of the cultivars. And even with certain pomological features lacking or with the no access to expert knowledge, we can still positively identify the type of, say, this Rubin cultivar we have. Sometimes we see mistakes happening with collection, like Gulpembe, for example. Another cultivar, we had two types with similarly named, but the genetic analysis showed that the first genotype was genetically identical to a Czech cultivar called Ovchi Hubička. Then we compared it with the pomological characteristics for the type and identified that most probably the cultivar has been used in a variety of areas, which makes the name a synonymous one. Another genotype was probably a mistake because we had a similar cultivar identified in a Danish collection named Roland. Just to show you when we have synonymous names and mislabeled cultivars for the same plant. Now, a bit more about mistakes with labeling in orchards. It may result to incorrect pollination schemes. Wrongly identified cultivars may lead to problems with pollination and, from here, reduced yields. It can lead to mistakes in agrochemical treatment. Because cultivars may differ in terms of their height, growth potential, and incorrect agrotechnical solutions may hamper their growth or development. They can have different resilience to pests and diseases, and we may plant the cultivar, think that it is well disease resistant, to only identify it as another one, which may translate into less yields from the orchard. And again, with the wrong cultivar identified, we are going to end up with different types of apples. In the future, it will complicate certification, reduce traceability, and two problems with the distribution, sales, and further propagation, leading to economic losses for the farm because of lesser yields, less market value, and overall less performance from the orchard. Now, on some applied aspects of genetic markers usage. Currently, these are used as an additional tool to test for distinctness, uniformity, and stability when registering plant varieties. I think you know the name, the acronym for UPOV, International Union for the Protection of New Varieties of Plants, and they've started already to discuss the marker use back in 90s with an official document on that, a white book published already around 2005 to guide on ways in which molecular markers can be used for variety registration. There's a concept of essentially derived varieties concept for varieties that are quite similar to an original one that already enjoys protection. This can be due to natural mutations or sports, like clones, for example. And here DNA markers can help us confirm the genetic identity to the original variety. And even with small visual differences, it can be classified as a new variety, just providing substantial protection for the original one. We have a similar mechanism established in Ukraine, and genetic analysis information is taken into account when a new variety is registered. Thanks to this genetic analysis for varieties, we already know cases when selection specialist rights were successfully protected in some cases, like in 2025, when a court in China slapped compensation fine of $460,000 for unauthorized planting and sale of the apple cultivar marketed as Envy. In Australia, back in 2019, the grower Mountain Blue Orchard got compensated from an offending party that would use the variety without permission, and it was ordered to destroy the plant and pay substantial hefty damages of 219,000 Australian dollars. Such analysis can be carried out at a research institution like Nectenbouw, one of the institutions in the Netherlands. They offer a variety tracer functionality to identify the correct variety, the original one, to avoid disputes. And they work not just with apples, but also with potatoes, blueberries, gooseberries, strawberries, and many other fruits. And that is actually of potential interest. If questions arise as to a given variety with no known profile attributable to it, a request can be made to already established database. We have the Malus Unique Genotype database that has a code for each uniquely identified genotype. This database is coordinated by the French INRA institution. The database has currently has information, requests from many countries, about 30,000 of them, with some 10,000 unique codes available. We use the database for our study. We created unique genetic profiles for some unique Ukrainian and some foreign apple cultivars. So the database can be used to positively identify a variety of cultivar not known to you. Other ways of using genetic markers. I think you know that apple cultivars are self-incompatible, so genetic markers can be used to select pollinators for them. Pollination of apples is overseen by dedicated genes, as allele genes, to be sure, and these identify possibility of cross-pollination from another tree. So one S allele has pollen has one S allele while the pistil contains two of them. Fertilization attempt may be blocked when pollen allele matches one of the pistil. And it may only happen as pollination as success only when there are different alleles present. From here, the need to have suitable pollinators, like in this table with 3 varieties present. Say Port Alexander has alleles S16B and S34. These are not compatible with Gala or Golden Delicious varieties. So a Port Alexander can be used to successfully pollinate other types, other varieties. Genetic markers can be viably used to identify individual genes related to disease resistance. The knowledge allows making more substantiated decisions to protect the orchard from pathogens. Apple scab, for example, has more than 17 resistant genes identified. RVI6 is one of the most widely used. There are other such genes as important, often coming from wild varieties like Malus baccata, Malus floribunda, Malus pumila, and others. And it's very important to be able to understand the types of the resistance genes, say to apple scab, when you are about to plant a tree. Another pathogen with it's the so-called Podosfera leucotricha, and there are specific genes identified for resistant traits. Known sources include Malus zumi, Malus robusta, and with selection programs in place, it is possible to create new cultivars resistant to powdery mildew. Molecular markers enable identification of fruit quality traits in apples of importance for end consumers, like acidity, skin color, firmness, storability, and harvesting and ripening times. With proper genes available as markers, we may see that these traits can be manifested or be in recess. And this can be properly assessed early in cultivation. Next slide is about the production of certified planting material of apples, because the quality of planting materials is very important. Both in Ukraine and Sweden, like in the EU in general, there is a procedure to certify planting material. The scheme is identical. It is based on the standards of European Plant Protection Organization, and there are several stages to the process. We start with selection of candidate plants. First, we identify pomological traits, then we use genetic markers to confirm genetic identity of the cultivar, and then we have visual assessment of the health condition to see if there are diseases present or pests available. Maybe some quarantined species are present. After this first assessment, the plants are taken into isolation to go on with molecular tests. And there we test for viruses, bacteria, fungi, according to national sets of requirements. Post-lab testing phase if the plant is being cleared from any unwanted pathogens, the material gets the status of basic pre-basic material, and it is kept in isolated conditions to prevent further contamination. The basic material is then used for propagation of from pre-basic plants and to establish mother plantations in fields. The basic material is also propagated to get from here certified materials, which will be ultimately supplied for commercial use. The benefits of this certification process is its complete traceability from the original material to commercial garden. And further on, I will speak in more detail about pathogens that we test against during certification. First of all, it's viruses. Chlorotic leaf spots virus, stem grooving one, stem pitting, and mosaic viruses. These are the viruses that can be dispersed through vegetative transfer. There are no known carrier species for them. Mosaic virus sometimes can propagate through pollen or seeds. It is not always easy to identify the infection condition because it can be a latent situation with reduced symptoms, but we can nevertheless see that trees are weakened, the yields go down, and some incompatibilities when grafting can be identified. For apple mosaic virus situation, we may see mosaic, chlorosis symptoms, and general reduction of photosynthesis. It is also very important to identify for cytoplasma proliferation, which is caused by a bacteria working through conductive tissues of the plant, which leads to certain congested stems, stem growths. You can see it on the photo. The healthy and the infected plants. Sometimes we see that smaller fruits in large stipules, like with golden delicious, worse taste profile and general weakness of plants, leading to eventual death of the tree. The pathogen is transmitted through a vegetative vector, and they have insects among vectors, like psyllids and other such insects that can bring infection from an infected plant to a healthy one. The infection process can take quite a long time, leading insects to bring infection to several trees. A couple of words about other important pathogens that we need to check against during certification. The so-called Agrobacterium tumefaciens galls, as on the photo on the left. Also the case of blight caused by Erwinia amylovora, leading to the desiccation of branches, exudates, and gradual dying off of the tissue. Or Phytophthora fungi-based pathogen that leads to root rot, blocking the juice transmission system and leading to eventual death of the tree. Many times these are the diseases hard to be identified with maternal plantations, but already in commercial application, when the orchard is there, it can manifest in full scale. The next slide is to summarize everything I mentioned.
As we build the production chain for apples, how traits shape the apple value chain. So we start with genetic traits that, if improved, will bring at orange level optimized cultivar choice and better yield and stability that would reduce pesticide use at post-harvest and market stage. We'll get improved storage and transport and consistent fruit quality and higher consumer. As a result, we'll have better economic effects, lower production costs, higher product value, and better access to premium markets. That will make our production more efficient economically. So now genetic work on cultivars would improve your garden and will improve economy of orchard business. So I hope this information would be useful for your work in the garden and for your business in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Дякую, Катерино.
Thank you, Katerina. Do we have any
У нас є
questions?
запитання у чаті.
We do have a question
Яка
in the
вартість такого
chat.
дослідження для одного
How
сорту?
expensive is such a study for one cultivar?
Я скажу, що в наукових цілях так, ми робимо
For scientific purposes,
оптові, да, скажімо, дослідження для того,
our
щоб відразу
research
відмовляється
is
робота з
quite
багатьма сортами.
um, costly, and that's why
Та й
we
було б цікаво запит відправити до хімікалів,
study
як вони
several
працюють із
cultivars at the
окремими
time.
сортами.
It's
Вартість,
important
але в
to
українських умовах
find out
вартість
what
там
would be
може
the cost
становити кілька тисяч
per
гривень. Я думаю, що
cultivar.
десь 4-5 тисяч гривень.
For
Але
Ukrainian
це
conditions,
залежить
this
від того,
cost
скільки ви зразків
would be
аналізуєте,
study of
про можливу наявність даних вже в нас
with a
проаналізованій
cost of
базі даних про
several
певні сорти.
thousand hryvnia
Тому воно
per
може
cultivar. It
варіювати.
depends on the number of the cultivar, number of samples. Thank you. Do we have any questions from Ukrainian participants or our Swedish colleagues that would like to know more? You're welcome.
I don't know how to better switch to English.
No, I was waiting for the translator to finish this sentence.
Okay.
Thank you, Katarina, for a very interesting talk. It's obviously focused on the large scale, but I can't see if we have any questions from the audience. But I have a question. From your own perspective, we mentioned costs to be quite substantial. For the small scale producer, which are the most important implications for your research for the small context or a cooperative of small scale producers?
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for your question. My presentation was more oriented at preliminary stage as you prepare to start a new orchard to find the best qualities of cultivar that you use for your orchard, as we've heard from Marcus. As we invest in the orchard, we expect this production to be long term. And for commercial orchard, that would be 20 years minimum with intense cultivation. If we talk about agroforestry, then small producer would expect even longer time of operation, and we need to understand what would be the qualities of the cultivar that you plan to use, what qualities should be for this particular type of tree. And so genetic characteristics are very important, whether the tree would be strong against pathogens, how high are the trees, what are the characteristics of the fruit, what would be the biochemical content of the fruit. These are important factors. I believe that as we are thinking about small cultivation, small farms, this is extremely important. This also um, is important for cross um, 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 breeding, because as Charlotte and Marcus says, this cross cultivation is very important, and this would help you decide what cultivar should be invested in for the next 20, 30 years. Another question, Katerina, please. Were you able to work with producers in Ukraine? Did you get any requests for that purpose? Or people even don't know? Do producers know enough about such a possibility? Yes, I'll tell you that our producers are interested in such genetic studies, not just for apples, for other species as well. We mentioned nuts before. When active nut growing began, there were problems with identification of the cultivar. And also there is an issue with certified seed material, and this is very important. We worked with many producers testing the seed material for lack of pathogens. Also, when producers have problems in the orchard and they need to find solution, well, first to find the reason for the problem, and then how to choose the best protection way. Because if the problem is of a virus origin, you cannot fight with viruses by protection methods. There could be problem with bacteria or yeast. So you need to find a proper solution to fight those pathogens. Thank you very much.
I guess we don't have more questions in the chat box. It's mostly a request to have a recording afterward. So I guess if no more question to specifically to Katerina, we can shift to second part of our meeting.
Wonderful. That would mean that we bring in all of our speakers, so we can we have another 15 minutes dedicated to discussing more general questions or questions that cross over between the different speakers. So you're welcome to ask your questions in the chat or raise your hand and post the questions yourselves. And if you want a response from a specific person, then please let them know when you post your question. Hanna seemed keen and eager.
Yeah, I am super eager, and thank you for everyone for those presentations and insights you have shared. What I can summarize actually now in Sweden seems like farmer itself is not only a farmer, it's quite of super multifunctional person that have to learn not only farming agrotechnology, but also have to lead some knowledge exchange and also some, ecotourism frame as a complex. And my question for both Charlotte and Marcus, how you develop the facilities for visitors, for those who are attendants of these ecotourism activities? Do you have like some direction to develop this, maybe hotels, I don't know, places where people can stay? Do you share some venues? I don't know, maybe it's some system that works, but how you collaborate on this issue? Because seems it's like a big part of the work you also do.
I don't know, shall I start? I would say like this. It's of course Sweden have like a tourist office for the whole country, like Visit Sweden. But that actually works different in different parts of Sweden, of course. And I would say like this thing about tourism around food and beverages, like alcohol beverages, like the possibility to buy alcohol at farmers is so new. So there aren't any like developed system for this. No, but we're discussing a lot like, can we do like tours? How shall we help tourists to find their ways? Shall we do maps? Shall we encourage them to sleep over at different places and so on? So I think that varies a lot from different parts of Sweden. For example, Skåne, where Marcus is situated, and actually where Marcus is situated, because it's such a beautiful area, it is a tourist area. So I guess it's easier to, and the distances are not so long, not so far away. So it's quite easy to develop things for tourists and for visitors there. But it's harder when you get further up in Sweden and maybe the distances are longer. So around Stockholm where I am, it's easy, but in other parts it might be more difficult. So I would say that this is something that is developing in Sweden. And actually in Föreningen Sörmlandsäpplen, who works with beverages and with cider production and apple, so on, we look a lot at the Baltics, because in Estonia and Latvia, they have I think it's a special department. I don't know if it's the state who has it, but it's sort of like an organization who actually organizes in a very good way tours around the country. And we also see the same in Norway. They have also a very good system for tourism around beverages. So I would say that we look at Norway and we look at Latvia. That's my answer. I don't know if Marcus would say anything.
We can hear from Marcus on a farm scale of this aspect, perhaps.
I don't see Marcus in the in the list. Perhaps he has lost connection temporarily.
But then I can speak for Marcus. Marcus has a beautiful farm, and it's possible to stay there as a tourist. He has a bigger farm, and since the farm is situated very close to the sea, it's actually...
Hallå!
Där är han! Bra!
Ja, ni hör mig. Okej.
But fortsätt, det är lite svårt här för min... Jag ser inte riktigt. Ja. You can keep on, Charlotte.
Yeah, but I wanted you to say how you work with tourists. I wanted to give.
Okay. Yes, so we have tourists. We have 2 Airbnb that we have on the farm. So we have we try to use the facilities as much as possible. Also, the house is way too big for us. So we in the bottom part we have like a conference room instead of like normal TV room, and also we never in 11 years we have not have time yet to watch the TV in that way, so we just didn't need it. But I think also we have a special place for eel fishing that was used before, and now it's more like a tourist also, like tourist thing to go to a special party for the eel, and that's also on the farm. So we try to look back and start these different places. And also now we have not yet the permit to do the sales of the cider that we produce with alcohol on the farm, but we're gonna take it this year because they make it a little bit easier to sell alcohol with food or without food this year in Sweden for small pubs and restaurants. Before you to be able to serve alcohol to your guests that come and eat, you needed to have 3 starters, 3 main, and 3 desserts, and it's tough in this location that we are at. We want to have like a special menu that you cannot choose from. So I think that's I think it's a big opportunity with the tourists. Also, we have a small farm shop in a nearby tourist village by the sea in Kivik, and we have a lot of tastings there of our products, and I think that's a very good way to do it. If people can try it, they notice the difference and they want to experience new stuff when they are out and traveling. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, and I really need to add, as Marcus say, we think that tourism is a really great opportunity, really great opportunity for us. So it's just how to organize it and sort of, but maybe not everything needs to be organized on the other way. Maybe it just happens. But if you want to look at a country who really is really good to work with tourism for beverages and for food, you should look at Norway, at Visit Norway. They are extremely good at this. And to advocate the food and the origin of the country and so on. It's a beautiful country and they have good food, but they're really good at tourist marketing.
Thank you.
We have a question, somebody raising their hand, Mikola. You can
It's our
please
farmer from Apple Value Chain.
Excellent.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Yeah, so I have a little farm. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of great information that I want to implement in my farm. So now I have about 3 hectares of land and I have apple fruit trees. Yes, that gives me some, and I have a small one. So basically, when we planted our small trees, we took samples from people who live in Carpathians, and they have species that can survive in a little frost. Yes, so in some years it will give me some results. Yeah, and it is very useful information was today. And also this year I want to try some organic farming, and also I want to try some permaculture. So around my farm I have bees that helps me to increase my growth of my trees, etc. So I heard that a lot of information that will help me. As Charlotte mentioned, it would be great to create in Ukraine some organizations that will help to exchange experience, exchange something that, because I don't know any that is now, and it would be just great to share experience between different people and different experiences.
Yeah, do that. Start an organization. It's good. And I will say something about doing an organization. The most important thing, except of being generous and share experiences, it's actually you need to have fun. You need to have fun, and you need to think it's fun, and you need to have a positive idea about it, and then it will work out.
That's some excellent advice. Do we have any other questions from the Ukrainian side?
If I can go for another question, actually, it might be a following question to Mykola's one on organization and sharing knowledge and help. But I would like to know if state support is existing in Sweden regarding the promotion on agroforestry, organic farming, I don't know, certification. Do you have support from government regarding your work and mainstreaming this idea, this concept of local food?
No. I would say no. It's like this. It's yes or no. Of course, as an organic farmer, or as a farmer in Sweden, we get this EU, what's it called? EU-stöd. EU support. As all the farmers in EU get EU support, and as an organic farmer of apples, you get more support per hectare than if you are not working with organics. And nowadays, you also can get support from the EU for agroforestry. So that you will get, but we don't get any support for marketing or for our work. No, that we have to seek for special projects. Sometimes it works out, sometimes everyone says no, so then we just work for free.
Thank you, Charlotte.
And I can add to Charlotte's point there that very small farms below 4 hectares of production are also excluded from the system completely. And even the medium size, if you go above 5 to 7 hectares, there's a cap on the support up to 37 hectares. So there's a blind spot in the medium-sized farms where they are excluded from the system, which is very unfortunate, and that you should try on the Ukrainian side to make sure that the very, very small scale and the medium-sized are included in any future support system. It's a good policy point to make. If we have a question from Linus, and then I also have a question, but please, Linus, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for all the presentations. Very interesting. I was wondering, we heard about a lot of corporations and relationships and so on. And I was wondering if maybe both of you, Marcus and Charlotte, has any other relationships or interactions with your local societies and communities, and what role that plays for your operation. Thank you.
I don't really know. I don't really understand the question, actually.
Well, how sort of embedded you are in your local context? Do you cooperate with local families, or do you have customers from the local area, or
Yes,
do
yes,
you
yes.
build on these
Yeah.
relationships?
Yes. In our association, we work very locally, and we work on a local market. So of course we have cooperation with other local farmers and so on. I mean, the distances in Sweden are quite big. So to work together to share, I mean, things that you need that you don't have at your own farm, of course we work locally. We work locally with everything like that. But we work like nationwide with experience knowledge about farming or orcharding. But otherwise, of course, we sell locally and we work locally. And I think it's the same for Marcus as well. We have a lot of local collaborations.
Yeah, and just to specify the questions, question a little bit. I meant with the not just with the cooperation partners, but also with your neighbors and your employ.
Yes.
If you employ youths for summers, and if what role that plays for your operation. But
Yes, we have in our association, we have a policy that we should always work local. So if we do a meeting, we of course, and we need food and beverages and so on, we choose to do it in a small scale from a local partner. We don't buy the conference from a hotel chain. Do you understand? Our policy is always to live as we speak. I mean, we buy locally and we try to do business locally as much as we can, of course.
We also sell some in the farm shops is for local consumption, direct to consumer. And I think that the eggs are very good to bind your neighbors to your farm, because it's they taste different than eggs you can buy in the normal supermarket. So everybody that's tried them one time wants them later on. So it's really a fight when the new eggs of the day are coming to the farm shop, because people waiting for them there to grab them, and they finish off very fast.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'm afraid that will have to be our final question. We're running out of time. I will hand over the word to Linus in a little bit, but first I want to thank our speakers so very much on behalf of the FarmForce project and Agroforestry Sweden for being here and sharing your knowledge so generously. And I would also like to thank all the participants for posing very interesting questions. And please look out for upcoming events. We have two more webinars and other smaller events coming out. So keep an eye open in the channels for this. And I will hand over to Linus for the final word. Thank you.
Thank you, Anders. As a final word, I don't have a specific final word other than to repeat what you said, Anders, that I'm really happy for this event and for all the both speakers and participants who took part. What I could mention is that, as I believe you mentioned in the beginning, Anders, so FarmForce are working with 4 value chains. We're working with winter wheat, apples, cheese, and rapeseed. So if any of those value chains are interesting to you as well that are here, you are more than welcome to participate on that. And I can also mention that we have a small evaluation with just a couple of questions for this event that we will send out. And we are super grateful if you would take a minute of your time to just give us some comments and your thoughts on if there's anything else that you would like to see in upcoming events or things that could help us develop this further. Thank you very much. And I see that there are 2 minutes. So if there are any final words that anyone else would like to add, I will just leave the floor for that. Otherwise, I say thank you.
I would
can
love
see.
to hear about orcharding in Ukraine.
Nice. I can see that Charlotte left her email in the chat, and everyone is welcome to do that. Of course, you're always welcome to contact the project or the organizations within. And if there are questions that comes up later, I suppose we can leave the last minute to Hannah then to address our Ukrainian audience and then conclude
Yeah,
this webinar.
then I will switch into Ukrainian in this case. Дякуємо всім учасникам, хто
Thank
зміг
you, all the
долучитися до
participants who were
нашого
able
вебінару
to
сьогодні.
join our webinar
Запрошую
today.
в
We
групу.
thank you for your active
Запрошуємо вас
participation.
також на
We
наступні
invite
заходи,
you
які
to
будуть
our
відбуватися в
next
рамках цього проекту.
upcoming
Бажаємо
events
мирного,
that will
гарного
be
дня
part of this
і
project.
на
Peaceful
зв'язку.
and beautiful
Звертайтеся до
day
нас,
to
будь
you.
ласка,
We
будемо раді
are
співпраці.
connected, so please write to us, call us, and we'll be happy to work with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank
I
you very
guess we're
much.
done.
Yeah, I guess we are done then. Take care. Hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye
Thank
bye
you
now.
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.